the Bat Plus. Hello, Red. Hello, Dave and hello, Horan. Thank you very much to be here for the Dahlia Rose interlude for the Jazz Club Étoile in Paris. Red, David, and Oren, you did us the honor of coming to play at the Jazz Club Étoile last year. It's one of the greatest emotions we experienced at the Jazz Club. What is your best memory of this concert in Paris? Maybe except the red wine.
Well, this is a French interview. I'll start by saying, I mean, being on the road is a beautiful thing, but sometimes it can be a little taxing. And I'll say the accommodations first were amazing, which gave us a relaxed feeling about even just being there and then creating. And it's something that should not be overlooked. And I appreciate that you all didn't overlook it. And it was a very comfortable environment to stay in.
Yeah, so and also a lot of our experiences kind of set by the tone that you know the promoter sets, or you know, and you set such a nice tone for us there, and we had such a good personal feeling from you that always makes a lot of difference too, because like it ties into what Oren's saying. When you're traveling so much, it can get kind of dehumanized sometimes, and it's just to have that human touch and human feeling is something I really remember from that show.
It's true. I couldn't agree more. You have a piano and a drum set and a bass, and you play those things, and you figure out a way to make the music every night. But it's the difference is when someone is as kind as you were and friendly to us, and that you know, sometimes people are really quiet around us, don't interact with us very much, or you know, don't have a large soul that you can see sometimes, just as business, you know, or things like that. And we appreciate anyone that has a nice spirit like you did. So I remember that as well, you know, nice, pleasant experience, but the room was really nice too. It was nice. It's always nice to stay where you're playing, you know.
Yeah.
Come downstairs and play your gig and go back upstairs and have some Nutella, you know what I mean?
Yes, of course. So it's, you know, I was wondering, like the Blue Note in New York or the Ronnie Scott in London, the Jazz Club Étoile, has a story to tell. And what do you think these live music clubs represent? So what the place do they have in the life of a musician, you know, instead of huge scene or a huge festival?
Well, I think that this kind of music, because it was developed in those smaller environments, it kind of lives most naturally in a smaller club setting. And there's, you know, not to say that you can't have a good experience playing on a big stage. You definitely can, but it's a little bit of an unnatural situation. Whereas, you know, to play in a smaller club like Jazz Club Étoile is, you know, just to create the sound itself, just the act of making the sound is so much more direct. And it's just something that, you know, it takes away, it's not as abstract as when you're playing in a large venue and you have to make assumptions about how it's sounding out front. When you know how it's sounding from the stage, it's just a much more direct experience of creating.
All right. Okay, thank you. You are the pioneer, the Bat Plus, of in adaptation of pop music to jazz. What would be the current pieces, the tune you would adapt today?
4 minutes and 33 seconds by John Cage. Probably. That one's getting played a lot these days.
That one's getting played a lot.
A lot of good interpretations of that piece.
Oh my God. In fact, I was going to say the way you two interact on that. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Love it.
We want to hear that.
I'll send a text out saying like, miss you guys. And then I hear the John Cage piece back. Or we just sit on Zoom like this. Yeah. And just look at each other like, we haven't done a lot of this goes back to the same thing we've said so many times. When we started the band with Ethan, we never thought of the few pop things we did as having the impact that they had early. In fact, someone sent me the original New York Times review of our first record by Ben Ratliff, and it's a really prophetic and great review, because he says, like, some people might approach this band. This is the first record we made on this tiny label, and it was the one that started the sort of talk about us in 2001. And it says, like, some people might gravitate towards a couple of the pop things they do on this record, which were only two. And he said, but it's their original music that's going to keep people around. He says it in 2001. He's a great music critic from the New York Times who's retired. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, like, of course, I never even thought that I would have a conversation about the fact that we did Smells Like Teen Spirit 175 years ago, and so it's like, yes, we continued to do things like that every now and again, but our original music was, we wanted to play a couple of pop pieces because we felt there was a fresh way to approach music from our life experience. And in a way that jazz musicians have taken down pop music and or taken it apart and re-examined the parts and played it as a way to connect with melodies. And we felt like that was the right thing to do from our generation after years of playing standards or doing whatever, if we needed other music than original music. But with Oren, we haven't, even the last several years with Ethan, other than a sort of last moment on the record, it's hard. We thought it'd be fun to just do a whole record of them again as a goodbye with Ethan. Because we were proud of the work we did with the pop music, like the way we were able to take them and create them and make them our own in a way that we felt was very unique in jazz. But with Oren, we've never really even discussed what we would do technically, Like, I don't think it's a part of what we consider necessary to look at. On that note, I would always be open to looking at anything musically in this band. So I know you're asking that question in a way. It's like, what would you do today? It's kind of fun, but it's a good way for us to answer. Like, I think all three of us would be open to something interesting happening from someone else's music, whether it be pop or something else.
Or classic
and
music.
I haven't thought about modern pop music. It's like, do you guys hear much? I mean, it's like, so much modern, really the biggest music in pop music has this trap element and this other element that's come in where it's almost like auto-tuned melodic hip hop in a way where it's like cool, but it's like, what would you do with a Post Malone tune or a Travis Scott tune? It's like there's not a ton of melodic material there anymore. Right. In the really big pop songs. Can you guys think of what, like, The Weeknd even is like, it's like a 3-note melody or 5-note pentatonic melody with like an incredible production. And that's kind of what it is, right?
No,
am I right? Does that sound like I'm the old man in the yard going, get out of my yard?
No, it sounds like that, but you've earned that. And we've earned that, man.
Yeah.
We've earned that.
So I'm just sort of like, okay, well, pop music today, man, like somebody's got to come up with a melody one of these days. You know what I mean? Very true. Then we'll cover it and you'll get really huge.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to talk about your new album because, my other question is that the title of your last 2 albums are Never Stop and Activate Infinity. Are you looking for eternal life?
Yeah, I think eternal life is probably overrated, but
definitely.
I think we do. It's more like on a more serious note. It's like the spirit of music and the spirit of creation, and that really comes into play now. Like just when everything has kind of come to a stop, like the kind of eternal nature, or I don't know if you can say eternal nature, but just the fundamental vastness of the human imagination and creativity and our compulsion as people to create things and move on that's more the message of those things. It's not about, yeah, we want to last forever, or we want to, you know, even have a career forever, you know, which of course we do, but but yeah, it's just more the spirit of creation that we're trying to put out there, and a force of energy behind it that we try to bring to our music whenever we're playing. We play with that kind of energy and try to engage with that kind of energy.
And also, I look at it as, you know, I'm proud of the work we've done on these last two records, and much like Giant Steps and John Coltrane's 100 years old and we're still talking about it. I would love for us to still be talked about at the water cooler, you know, continuing on and on and on and on. So it's for me, it's also never stop talking about us and activate the infinity of the Bad Plus. We will be here even when we're not here.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about art in general, and the way that it has a quantum effect in people. 100, you know, we check out music from long ago, and we check out the title "Activated Infinity" is actually from a poem from the American poet Frederick Seidel, and I read that line and I thought "Activated Infinity," and I thought, you know, the last few years in America, especially, there's been a great push to evolve more under this kind of highly dysfunctional administration we've had. And to me, it felt like this great moment to state, like, we're gonna learn from this stuff that's getting kicked up and get people getting activated to put something out there that's meaningful beyond your own generation. And so I think that was part of it as well. So it's the same thing that Reed Noren said. Ultimately, we feel like, you know, we feel like a unique band in jazz, the way that we think, the way that we access this sort of committed energy, and we don't ever see a need to ever stop that. So it's like it's a comforting thing to think about, that you have this group of improvising musicians that are sort of leaders when they're not together. And it's kind of fun when we're together. We have that energy of like, what's three leaders? It's almost like, you know, there's a little bit of a fantasy of us being some sort of like, you know, we've got this, it's a strong-willed band. So there's something about it being like, yeah, well, okay, well, we're going to be here, you know?
And another thing, just to I had this thought of, you know, none of us are living in a vacuum and creating in a vacuum. We're part of a continuum. You know, we bring, you know, the history that we're attached to with us, and we're passing on ourselves, our DNA into the future. Like Milan Kundera in his book Immortality, he talks about immortality is really like, you know, you look at your hands, and I can see my father's hands in them, and you know, it's this genetic passing on of information and inspiration that is really that's about as close as you can really get to defining immortality, I think.
And for me, it's an evidence that your music gonna be eternal. Like you say, that we are listening from music from the creation of music. So
yeah, and somebody, you know,
you can touch the immortality. I don't know how to say. You can touch the infinity when you are doing music like that, who is so close from the heart. I know I say it with my English, but I remember this concert. For me, you touch something from this infinity.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's true that Mark Wahlberg is just going to have to deal with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch at some point. Like, he can't run from that, you know, like that's there. So he can be like, but I've been an actor, and like, and I'm a real actor, you know, but there's just no way that you can bury Mark and the Funky Bunch. It's going to come up hopefully soon and permanently. that it will somehow make Mark Wahlberg go away. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But I mean, so I'm counting on the quantum universe to help us out as well. You know what I mean? We don't have a Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch in our backgrounds, man. Sorry. It's consistently great.
So you can go to another question. I go to another question before, but I said that your trio seems perfect, you know. Horan, for me, brings sweetness and harmony. Red is the backbone, the pillar and the trees. And David, the movement, the boy, the cosmic research. So if there was to be a fourth element, what would it be? No, what or who would it be? The fourth element.
So what do we have? We have the Oren is the, what is Oren again?
Oren brings
it's only Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Harmony.
Well, then we must create the fourth together. How about that?
Whoa!
No room. Listen, first of all, there's not enough money to bring somebody else in. Okay,
That's
especially now.
Maybe that's the fourth element. Maybe the fourth element is just.
So don't get any ideas. Okay.
Money is the fourth element.
Yeah.
Just a bag on the stage filled with money that we divide.
Yeah, being able to feed your children. That one, if that one happens, man, right?
Earth, Wind, and Fire, and money.
Yeah. Oh my God. We love collaborating. I don't think anyone would ever. I know what you're saying. It's a fun question, but you know, we're always open to collaborations. You know, but no one else can actually come in the inner circle. There's a lot of initiations that need to happen that are, frankly, very, very.
I understand that you can have some guests.
Yeah, somebody can visit.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. They can.
But then you go back home.
Yeah, they stay in the guest house. That's for sure.
Okay. Some really quick question. You can answer one by one. So, what was the first record you bought?
For me, it was a Take Six record that I purchased with my own money. It was a Take Six record called "So Much to Say."
Wow. Mine was a Saturday Night Fever soundtrack on LP, of course, 1978. My older brother got a record, and I was like, I want to buy a record. My mom was there, and I had my paper out money, and she was like, okay, pick out a record. And I didn't know what to get. Nice. I was 7 years old. I was like, and I was like, oh, Saturday Night Fever, I guess that's a record, right? Or something I should get. And I bought it at Montgomery Ward's in Robbinsdale.
Oh.
Right. And Red?
I think it was a recording of Beethoven Fifth Symphony. but the truth is, what I was looking for was that, you know that disco version, a fifth of Beethoven?
That's what I'm saying. My era.
Walter Murphy. That's really what I wanted. Yeah. Because I heard it on the radio, so I went to the record. That's it, exactly. But I went to the record store and they didn't have it, so I was just like, okay, I guess I'll get this.
You get the original?
I think I was disappointed.
Wow. Talk about the rest is history on that one. Oh my God. I love that reading our oldest see, it's like, oh, or it's like Take Six. I'm like, Take Six?
That's only because I have an older brother, so I didn't need to buy records. So once he was out the house, then I bought records, and I was like, okay, Take Six.
There you go. The Saturday Night Fever record is great too. I mean,
that's a great first record, man. That's a fantastic.
You really got that for the album cover.
I did get it for the album cover, and the original LP had an insert, and they had the dance moves. So the whole thing was like, you could also learn how to disco. But I wore that record out. I mean, it was just like, it was my record, you know. I'm just sitting there listening to that.
I just want to see Dave doing that.
Okay, go easy.
So
look at, he's done.
Saturday afternoon, records on, Dave's downstairs like,
Dude, absolutely, with my younger brother.
Oh, I see. So, in the same kind of question, this is the first record you bought. So, what is the record you have listened to the most that you can sing by heart?
For me, it's just because I only had it on cassette, and I had this car, and I only had one cassette, and I just drove around with it. And it's funny because I watched the movie the other day, and everybody in the house was looking at me like you're weird because I knew it. The soundtrack to Round Midnight. I just had the tape, and I listened to it all because it was the only cassette tape I had. Plus, it's a killing record.
It's incredible.
Still, it was just the only one I had. So now I still know everything off that record.
Yeah, and it's Dexter, but they redid it, like they recorded it for the film, right?
So the film, they did the film, and then there's another one called The Other Side of Round Midnight, which is all the stuff.
I
love that movie so much.
Dexter Gordon.
Okay. Round Midnight.
And that's of course a French film.
Yep. Yeah. Wow, that was great. I didn't see. Thank you, Dave, making all these connections.
Yep, fantastic. I probably listened to the John Coltrane, Johnny Hartman record more than any other record. I had a cassette of that as well in high school. I know that I've listened to Keith Jarrett's Standards Live there. I used to go to sleep to that record. Reed and I we went to the library and checked out records quite a few times when we would go to we would go to the library in New Hope?
Mm-hmm.
And check out. Was that the one we would go to? The one in New Hope?
I used to go to the Golden Valley one.
Okay, the one by the water tower.
Yeah.
Yep, is that as well? And I checked it out once, and then I bought it. The Keith Jarrett, and I would listen to it at night. I would put it on the LP and go to bed. I was probably 16 or 17, and so I know it's weird how I know that record. Like, it's weird when you go to sleep to an album like that, but that's up there as well.
So your album is, say it again.
Well, that would be Keith Jarrett Standards Live, but I also the John Coltrane, Johnny Hartman album. I still listen to this day several times a week, actually.
Right. And Red, you say your
put on the LP
album.
Well, I'm having trouble thinking of one. I was actually going to say the John Coltrane, Johnny Hartman one as well, or maybe it could be John Coltrane and Duke Ellington, because that was around the time when I first was really introduced to like any of that music, and it just like that's the music that really leapt out to me as just like having everything I wanted in music. You know, it's melodic, it's folkloric, it's swinging, the sound is amazing, the songs are amazing. You know, just like it was just that first injection of like, wow, this is what music can be, and at a time in your life when you're really obsessive and checking stuff out, you know.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I have only 2 questions to end the interview. So to all of you, what's your motto? So we spent through many times, very hard times. We are in the spatial periods, but in general, in life, especially now, what's your motto?
Well, I repeat mine all the time. It's go for the obvious.
Mine has always been, but I'm more now than ever, is be grateful for what you have. That's for sure. You know, like I've always the people do the, I'm grateful thing, but I've always been really actively been very grateful for being able to do. I wasn't sure I would do much with my life, to be honest with you. So to be able to have traveled and to play music on a high level, I didn't actually think I would be able to do that on some level. I thought, well, I'll try to do that, but part of me wasn't sure that would ever take place. So I'm always like, I can't believe that. Sometimes during this time, especially, I've decided to go back and listen to some of the things that we've done and other things that we've done, just to try to remember, well, you know, if it never comes back to the way it was, we did this though. And for me, it was a personal, like, as a kid growing up going, I wonder if I could actually do that. I wonder if I could play the drums and write music and go and play it for people, you know, and, you know, you can have fantasies of being in a famous rock band or something, but really it was just to play the drums and play music for people is all I ever wanted to do. I never thought about what, you know, what else you could do. And so then of course you go, oh my gosh, how do I do that? So I'm super grateful that I've had the chance to do that.
Great. And Oren, thank you. And Oren, your motto?
For me, something I've been trying to remind myself of and live for is just that I am the curator of my own happiness. And when things aren't going well around me, it's probably because, you know, I didn't curate the show right, or I didn't program everything the right way. So go back out and, you know, look at what's happening, and maybe it's somebody that's at the show that shouldn't be there. Maybe it's somebody right next to you, whatever it is, but I am the curator of my own happiness and trying to deal with that.
Great.
So a last question. Dave, you were a visionary with your YouTube, you know, Russian funk channel, talking to people from social networks. It makes even more sense now that an importance after we've just been through, don't you think? And does it sound differently today to talk with people like this? Nah, it's not a clear question, no?
No, that's okay. Does it feel differently to talk to people through social networks?
Yes, you used to do that, but now everybody is doing this because we've been through. So that means something different now?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think I know what you mean when it comes to like people putting things out there and some people doing humorous things and doing whatever. I'm not sure. I mean, I agree with you that 4 years ago or 5 years ago when that was on, there was a little less like regular content-driven stuff coming from people. Of course, now with people having to do that as a project that they only have that, I think that it is different now, and a lot of people have rushed to try and figure something out in that way. I did that only as a way to express another part of me that also contained a great love I have for music. And for me, a lot of the time, having a sense of humor about something is showing your love for it.
Of course.
And I would often laugh when I would hear amazing music. Like I would laugh, just be like this. To me, it would make the happiness in me huge. So for me, it was only about that. It wasn't about like generating another presence or anything like that. And that's why it was done so organically. And also it was free, you know, so which it is as well. It continues. So again, it was just I think about now, yes, I think there's a lot of people out, but I never think about myself as like, oh, I was doing that or it was whatever. But I think that everyone is having to access other parts of their creativity. If you were a performing live musician right now, I think a lot of people are accessing other things they probably have always wanted to try. And so that Rational Funk was that for me back then. It was my ability to put something together that I had always wanted to do that accessed a humorous element of my personality. And that's it.
Great. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Answer to all this question. Red, you're very thank you to organize all this stuff. Yes, no, really, it's very important for me. So you are welcome again at the Jazz Club when you want, of course. Please come back.
You want to come back. Thank everyone in Paris and in France.
Yes,
we remembered your very nice personality and good soul. So it was nice.
Yeah.
We've been turning down so many interviews lately that we decided to let this one happen because you're so cool. You know.
Yes, really? Wow,
yes.
Thank you very much.
Well, we the real part about that is we did remember how amazing and cool you are and nice you are.
Oh, thank you.
CNN. We turned down CNN.
We turned down CNN because it was getting a little bit deep with Anderson Cooper talking about his new son, you know what I mean, instead of the news. Anyway, but that's another story.